Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about Hunter Biden's week before House committees and the U.S. District Court. So on Wednesday, I've been very open about this. It just seems really clear to me that the charges have everything to do with political partisan conduct by Republican-led, and not just Republican, but James Comer is the head of one. So it's the House Oversight Committee, the House Judiciary Committee, and they were assembled to debate whether to refer Hunter Biden for contempt. But it's this tricky little chicken game that he and his lawyer, Abby Lowell, has devised, because he said, hey, I think it's either Comer or maybe it's Jim Jordan, another chair, had taken words said in private and lied about them. And I think they have pretty good demonstration of that. I'm not going back there where you can then, in closed session, I'll show up, I'll honor your subpoena the way people honor subpoenas generally. I'll show up and testify before the House and also before the American people to the extent they want to watch. And with a obviously planned gesture to reinforce that point, as they're arguing, Hunter Biden and his lawyer, Abby Lowell, saunter in to clearly unexpectedly to the room and just make the Republicans, up there in the dais, just spitting mad. Representatives from South Carolina looks at him and says, "You, sir, are the epitome of white privilege." This was spoken, by the way, by a white representative from South Carolina, and where the sort of racist aspect of it comes in is anybody's guess. But it's just, reaches for gutter speech and throws in a little race just for the fun of it, or not for the fun of it, as if it's got extra rhetorical emphasis. It's like, what? And then I think it is Marjorie Taylor Greene who begins to speak, at which point, again, surely planned, Hunter and Abby Lowell stand up and leave the room, and making Marjorie Taylor Greene wig out, and "You're a coward, you're too scared to hear my words," etc. Pretty ironic, because what Biden has said is, "I'm happy to answer your questions, hear any garbage you want to spout, but let's just do it in public where others can hear and where you can't distort it and be deceptive about it behind the scenes." Okay, so after that fairly dramatic but clearly choreographed, but clearly unknown to the Republicans gesture, the two committees proceeded along party lines, like all this stuff would have to be. This is really just there's nothing but politics. But voted on party lines to refer him to the Department of Justice for contempt. That's not enough, and now their vote goes to the floor, and the full House, which has this razor thin majority and a new speaker trying to manage things along with the budget and the like. But you need a full House vote. Now, to my mind, recall that some people who have been referred, Steve Cannon and at least one other, the DOJ decided to prosecute. But they didn't in the case of Mark Meadows. There's someone else they didn't do it in the case of. And I think it's got a lot to do with the standard for a criminal case, and it being really certain that there's non-compliance and a chance to comply, and a real thumb in your nose at the House or the Senate, as the case may be. And there's a calculated risk on Hunter's part. Of course, he's already facing huge tax charges, but it's a calculated risk. But to my mind, you get a subpoena, you show up, here I am. I don't think it's contempt if the people who issue the subpoena insist. I don't think they have a legal right to say it has to be in a closed court, like the sort of crusades, star chamber. He's there. I'm ready to talk, but I want to do it out front. That seems to me, at least for a Department of Justice trying to consider whether a crime has occurred, which really does require a kind of knowing, FU to the Congress. So my best guess is they'll find maybe it's even no problem at all when you show up, but it quite vitiates a charge of criminal contempt. So my best guess is they won't go along. Maybe the Congress is expecting that, or the House is, so they can just even more in perfect Trump fashion rail at the Joe Biden controlled DOJ, blah 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 blah. But that's the state of play, and it's an example of a kind of sea change that Biden made when he took on Abbe Lowell as lawyer and became much more aggressive in the wake of the demolition of or the falling apart of his plea agreement. Okay, speaking of which, that leaves to the side what happened in the House, but then the next day, today actually, Thursday, Biden has his initial appearance on his new, they had taken the 2 misdemeanors and now have changed them into 9 felony charges and 56 pages and years, and really thrown the book at him. I've given you my thoughts about that and how sort of rank it is. And indeed, at the trial, the initial appearance, where he's just asked, "Have you seen the indictment? How do you plead?" The judge, who's a Trump appointee, but at least I've heard at least mixed reviews, as in some say no, he's won't be unfair. He'll try to be solid. But anyways, how do you plead? Not guilty. But then Abbe Lowell speaks up and makes it clear that their view is that the plea agreement that provided for 2 misdemeanors and unraveled, but for freakish reasons that had nothing to do with Biden. This wasn't Biden saying no deal, and then they're throwing the book at him. He said, our view is that plea agreement is still in place. So that's going to be their sort of first position. And then from there, it's going to be just what Abbe Lowell said to the courts, a really unusual situation. And the prosecutor on the other side, the assistant U.S. attorney from Los Angeles, said, plea deals fall apart all the time, which I think is a disingenuous thing to say. They do fall apart all the time because one of the parties says, no, we don't want to do it, especially the defendant. Here, that's not what happened. Here, it was written up fairly sloppily. And the judge said, wait, you're asking me to do what? And that's how it fell apart. So it, through no fault of the parties, or especially of Hunter Biden, which would be the sort of thing that would justify more severe charges, and certainly not in a way that happens all the time. So he was given a very soon trial date of June. We'll see if that holds. And there's a little bit of the same dynamic as with Trump. The Republicans will want to make hay if they can get the trial to happen before November. In my experience, that would be very fast, especially because Abbe Lowell has some pretty big motions to do up front. So I don't see that happening, but there might be nevertheless efforts to compare. And look what's happening to Hunter Biden and blue California with the Trump judge, et cetera, et cetera. So dynamic in the Congress, where now the sides are drawn and they're going to take it to the full House to get a contempt vote, and likewise in district court in Los Angeles, where the prosecutor says, "Oh, things fall apart all the time," and Abbe Lowell says, "No, this is different, and this is going to be the centerpiece of my pretrial litigation," which starts pretty soon. So that's the first there'll be some discovery the government gives the Biden team, but then we'll move into this sort of Abbe Lowell pretrial phase that will really focus on saying either the deal should still be in place, or it's nasty and irregular that it fell out of place, and therefore certain remedies should have happened. So that's what's coming up with Hunter in the near future. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.